Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video we're gonna start using the Cloud Firestore to keep our configuration data. For instance, we have to store this spreadsheet ID in order to know which spreadsheet to read and write. Our transaction function here needs to retrieve it from the database, and before that, of course, we have to upload it. And also in our project directory, we have a token.json file, which is our authorization token for the Google Sheets API. We also have to upload it to Firestore because, again, this function needs to know about it. So let me actually create a to-do tag here. Read spreadsheet ID from Firestore. Read auth token from Firestore. So to be able to read them, again, we have to write them first. And we have to create two additional functions to write those inside our database. So let me clean up the content and copy this. I'm going to rename this to set sheet and this to set token. So before beginning, let me show you the Firestore. I have already created a Firestore. If you haven't done that yet, it shows up on the project overview page. You just click and it gets created. And as you see here, it's a blank database for now. So when we complete these functions, we will be able to upload our data. Actually, before writing these functions, we first have to access a database object, because both of these functions will work with the Firestore. So we need a global variable to access the database. We can do it like this. Const admin is equal to require Firebase admin. And admin initialize app functions config Firebase. And finally, var db is equal to admin Firestore. Now our functions can use this global variable to access the Firestore. So db collection config. I'm naming this config because we are only going to store configuration data in our Firestore, such as spreadsheet ID, auth token, username, password, and so on. And inside this collection, we're going to create a document named spreadsheet and set request body. So what this line does is read the request body and set the document named spreadsheet with the contents. And now we have to return our success code, as always. Response status 200 end. And before that, let's log something. Spreadsheet ID set request body ID. So this will be our key for the spreadsheet ID. But there's a problem here. The thing is, this line is asynchronous and it may take a while to complete, but we're immediately returning our response. So before returning our responses in HTTP functions, we need to make sure that all the background jobs are finished. We simply call then, so snapshot, and also catch any errors, console error, and return another response 500 and move these inside this then block. Let me copy this one and paste here, because this is pretty much the same thing except the document name. We'll call this token, and let me change this as well, auth token set. And now our functions are ready. Let's go ahead and serve them locally. Oh, I misspelled functions here, so let me correct that. Alright, now we see 3 endpoints instead of one for each function. We can simply test those with curl command, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to create a new file called post.py. This will be a Python script to make HTTP post requests. The reason I'm creating a new script is that there are two kinds of endpoints here. The local endpoint, such as this one, and the remote endpoint. And also now we have 3 functions. So using this script, passing arguments to it, we can select the endpoint, local or remote, and also our functions. So let me create a main here. If name equal to main. Now I have to parse some arguments. The first one is the script name, and the second, let's make it the endpoint, and next the function and the argument. Sys argv. So I have to import sys. Now first I have to build my URL according to this endpoint variable. So the local endpoint is here. I can just go ahead and copy that. Let me create a variable for that. Is equal to this, and also a remote endpoint. We can get this from our project, the functions tab. In the dashboard, we can see the endpoint. Let me copy that and paste it here. Of course, I have to delete this transaction. So actually, I have to add plus function in the end of this URL. And the URL can be built by looking at this variable. If it's local, I can choose this local endpoint, and if it's not local, I can choose the remote endpoint. So here's how we're going to do it. Local endpoint if endpoint is equal to local, else remote endpoint. Let me fix that. And let's define our payload, the data to be posted by the post request. So again, it depends on the function. If the function is setSheet, it's simply the ID and the argument, which is going to be the spreadsheet ID. If function is equal to setSheet, else it's going to be the contents of this token JSON file. So we can read the file like this: JSON load open arg. And finally, request is equal to requests dot post URL JSON is equal to payload. All right. And in the end, let's print something out. Server return status code request status code. Of course, it complains about this and this. I have to import those. Import JSON, import requests. Alright, so before we run this script, I want to change something here. The Trello budget ID is inside both of these endpoints. So we can read this actually from the Firebase RC file. Then this script would work for any project IDs. So let's open this up, and Firebase RC is equal to JSON load open Firebase RC, and the app ID is equal to Firebase RC projects and budget. Now we can replace this substring with app ID. Similarly here. And also we can make this a global variable. So let's call it local port is equal to 5000, and change here local port. Of course, this has to be passed as a string. Now our script is ready, I guess, so we can test it. Let's go Python post py. We're going to choose local endpoint and set sheet. We have to copy our spreadsheet ID and paste. As you see, server returned status code 200, and we get this message. The good thing about serving the functions locally is they can actually update the Cloud Firestore from your computer. So let's check our database. Let me open this. And as you see here, there's a config collection and a spreadsheet document. Inside it, we have our spreadsheet ID. Let's now try the other function. Instead of set sheet, we have to call set token, and as an argument we have to pass the token JSON file. Again, the status code is 200. Let's check our database, and you see the authorization token here. Now the next step is to deploy our functions to cloud and test them again. But before doing that, I want to change something in our script. I want to add a new function to parse the spreadsheet URL, this whole thing, and extract the ID. I want to be able to copy this all and pass that as an argument. So let's name it extract ID URL. Inside this function, we have to simply locate the index of the start and end of this ID. So start is equal to URL find. We will be looking for this. And similarly, end is URL find. Now we are looking for this one. And let's check if they exist or not. Start is equal to -1 or end is equal to -1. This means that one of them or both of them cannot be located. In this case, print invalid URL and use the file sys std error sys exit 1 and a return URL start plus 15 to end. So okay, I have to fix this. Now instead of passing the argument itself here, we'll use the new function. Alright, so let's try this again. but I want to delete the spreadsheet so that I can make sure the script works properly. So again, Python post py local set sheet, but this time I have to copy all the URL, paste. So again, the status code is 200 and the spreadsheet ID is correctly displayed. Let me check the Firestore as well. Refresh. Here we can see the spreadsheet ID correctly. Now the final stage of this video is to deploy our functions. Firebase deploy only functions. Let me shut this down. Alright, the deploy is complete. By the way, the reason we are seeing this error here is about a compatibility issue. To solve it, we have to add these lines to our index.js file. So let's do that before proceeding. Let's open the index.js. And here we have to add these lines. Alright, before testing our new functions, I want to delete this again. Now we are going to run our script with the new arguments. So Python post py, now remove set sheet, and now the URL. Okay, it took longer this time, but we now again see the success status code. Let's check our Firestore. Alright, we see our spreadsheet ID again. And also we can check out our functions, the logs, to see what happened. Okay, so now we see the setSheet function logs. This is because we didn't deploy our functions again after adding these lines. When you deploy them again, the problem should go away. And let's try our other function, Python post py set token JSON. Alright, I forgot to specify the endpoint. Let me insert it here. Remove. Again, I got the success code. So let's check this. Here, the token is also set. And from the logs, we now see the set token logs here as well. So that's it for today's video. We'll continue building our cloud functions, especially this one, in the next couple of videos. So see you then. Take care.